And those rules, once established, won't be easy to change. Because the deeper technology integrates into everyday life, the harder it becomes to separate from it. Think about how dependent the world already is. Every message sent, every transaction made, every search, every click, every movement tracked through digital systems, all of it creates data. And data is the new currency of power. But not just raw data. Refined data. Analyzed data. Data that can be used to understand behavior, predict trends, and even shape decisions before people realize what's happening. And the United States has spent years building systems that don't just collect this data, they learn from it. Continuously. Silently. At scale. Which means the real advantage isn't just technology itself, it's the intelligence generated from that technology. And once you control intelligence at that level, you don't just react to the future. You start to anticipate it, even influence it. But there's another dimension to this that most people overlook. Talent. Because technology doesn't build itself. Behind every breakthrough, every system, every innovation, there are people, engineers, scientists, developers, visionaries. And one of the most strategic moves the United States has made is positioning itself as a global magnet for top talent. The best minds from around the world, drawn into a system filled with resources, funding, and opportunity, where ideas can scale faster than anywhere else, where innovation isn't just encouraged, it's accelerated. And when you combine world-class talent with massive capital and advanced infrastructure, you create something incredibly difficult to compete with, a self-sustaining engine of innovation. But even that isn't the full picture, because while talent is being attracted, another battle is being fought quietly in the background, the semiconductor war. The tiny chips that power everything from smartphones to fighter jets have become one of the most critical assets in modern technology. And controlling their design, production, and supply chain means controlling the backbone of the digital world, which is why billions are being invested to secure manufacturing, reduce dependency, and ensure that the most advanced chips remain within reach. Because without chips, there is no AI, no advanced computing, no future tech, and whoever controls them controls the speed of progress itself. But here's where the strategy becomes even more layered. Because it's not just about building and controlling technology, it's about creating ecosystems, platforms that developers build on, marketplaces that businesses depend on, operating systems that billions of people use every day. Once you're inside that ecosystem, switching becomes difficult, sometimes impossible. And that's where long-term control is established, not through force, but through dependence. A dependence so seamless, so integrated into daily life, that most people never question it. And by the time they do, it's already too late to step away. But while all of this is happening on the surface and behind the scenes, there's one more layer that makes this plan even more powerful. Narrative. Because controlling technology is one thing, but controlling how people perceive technology, that's influence on an entirely different level. The stories people hear, the innovations they celebrate, the companies they trust, the fears they develop, all of it shapes how society reacts to new advancements. And when you shape perception, you shape acceptance, which means even the most disruptive technologies can be introduced without resistance, gradually, strategically, until they become normal, expected, necessary. And that's when true control is achieved, not when people are forced to adopt something, but when they can't imagine living without it. And as this system continues to expand, layer by layer, sector by sector, one thing becomes clear. This isn't just about leading the next tech era. It's about defining it, from the way intelligence operates, to the way humans interact with machines, to the very structure of digital society itself. Everything is being shaped right now. But here's the part that changes everything, because no system, no matter how powerful, is ever completely secure. And as the United States continues pushing forward, others are not standing still. New alliances are forming. New technologies are emerging. New strategies are being developed in response. And some of them are designed not just to compete, but to disrupt the entire system, which means the future isn't guaranteed. It's contested, uncertain, fragile in ways that most people don't realize. And if something unexpected happens, a breakthrough, a collapse, a shift in power, everything could change overnight. The balance, the control, the direction of progress itself. And that raises a question that becomes harder to ignore. Is this plan truly about control, or is it about staying ahead in a world where falling behind is no longer an option? Because in a race like this, there are no pauses, no second chances, only momentum. And right now, until eventually it reaches a point where it can no longer be easily controlled. Because the faster technology evolves, the harder it becomes to predict its consequences. And that's where things begin to shift. From strategy to uncertainty. Because even the most carefully designed plans can encounter something unexpected. A breakthrough from an unlikely place. A new system that changes the rules entirely. Or a moment where control starts to slip, not because of failure, but because the system itself becomes too complex to manage. And complexity is where power can both grow and collapse. At the same time, because the more interconnected everything becomes, the more vulnerable it becomes. One disruption in a critical system, one failure in a network, one unexpected cyber event, and entire infrastructures can feel the impact, not locally, but globally. And that's the paradox of this new era. The same systems that create dominance also create risk. But instead of slowing down, the response has been the opposite. Acceleration, more investment, more innovation, more integration. Because in this race, hesitation is weakness, and weakness is something no global power can afford. But as this acceleration continues, a deeper transformation is quietly taking place. One that goes beyond governments, beyond corporations, beyond even technology itself. The transformation of human identity. Because the next phase of this technological evolution isn't just about external tools. It's about internal integration, brain-computer interfaces, human-AI collaboration, augmented intelligence, the merging of biological and digital systems. Concepts that once sounded like science fiction are now being actively explored, developed, tested. Because the ultimate form of control over technology is when technology becomes part of you, not something you use, but something you are connected to, seamlessly, constantly. And once that line begins to blur, the definition of what it means to be human starts to change. And this is where the plan takes its most profound turn. Because influencing machines is one thing, influencing human perception, thought, and decision-making at a deeper level is something entirely different and far more powerful. But here's where it becomes even more complex. Because as these technologies evolve, so do the ethical questions surrounding them. Who decides how far is too far? Who controls access? Who sets the boundaries? And more importantly, what happens if those boundaries are pushed or ignored? Because history has shown that when power and possibility exist together, limits are often tested and sometimes crossed, which means the future being built right now isn't just a technological future. It's a philosophical one. A future that forces humanity to confront questions it has never faced before. About control, about freedom, about identity, and about the kind of world we are willing to create. But while these questions remain unanswered, the system continues to move forward, relentlessly, quietly, expanding into every aspect of life. From the way people communicate, to the way economies function, to the way decisions are made at the highest levels of power. And the deeper it goes, the harder it becomes to step outside of it. Because at some point, technology stops being a tool and becomes an environment, an invisible layer surrounding everything, guiding interactions, shaping outcomes, defining possibilities. And once that environment is established, it doesn't just support reality. It starts to shape reality itself. Which brings everything back to the original question. Is this truly a plan to control the next tech era? Or is it something even bigger? Something that goes beyond control and moves toward transformation. Because if the trajectory continues, the world won't just experience a shift in technology, it will experience a shift in existence. A new kind of reality, built on systems that are being designed right now, tested right now, refined right now, and most people are still only seeing the surface. But beneath that surface, the real story continues to unfold, layer by layer, decision by decision, innovation by innovation, pushing closer to a future that feels both inevitable and uncertain. A future where control, power, and technology become so deeply connected that separating them may no longer be possible. And as that future approaches, one final question begins to emerge, not about what is being built, but about who it ultimately serves. Because in the end, the most powerful technology in the world is not the one that simply advances society, but the one that defines its direction. And that direction, once fully set, may not be something the world can easily turn away from. Because by the time most people realize what has changed, the systems will already be in place. The dependencies already formed. The structures already built into everyday life. Quietly, gradually, step by step. Until the future no longer feels like something distant, but something that has already arrived. And that's the real power behind it all. Not speed, not scale, but subtlety. The ability to reshape the world, without the world even noticing it's being reshaped. And as everything continues to evolve, from artificial intelligence to quantum systems to global digital infrastructure, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't just a competition for technological leadership. It's a competition to define reality itself. Who builds the systems, who controls the data, who sets the rules, and ultimately, who decides what the future looks like. Because the next era of technology won't just change how we live. It will determine who holds power in a world where power is no longer visible but embedded, invisible but everywhere. And as the United States continues to push forward, expanding its influence across every layer of this new digital landscape, the rest of the world faces a choice: adapt, compete, or fall behind. Because in this new era, standing still is not an option. And maybe that's the most important truth of all. This isn't a story about what might happen someday. It's a story about what is already happening. Right now. Behind the scenes. Out of sight, but not out of reach. Because sooner or later, everything being built in silence will shape the world in ways no one can ignore. And when that moment comes, the question won't be whether the future has changed. The question will be, did we ever truly understand who is shaping it and why? Because in the end, the greatest power isn't just controlling technology. It's controlling the direction humanity moves in. And that future is no longer coming. It's already here.